Hey everybody, today we're going to make our app a little bit better. Instead of returning HTML, we're going to return JSON. We're going to use a third-party API to do so, and that will be the beginning of making your own API. Stick around. Okay, let's get back into it. We were used to using the render template function from Flask to link up a function to an HTML page. We did so with hello.html, and then login.html, which linked up with some CSS, looked much better. And now we're introducing a new route called /data. And as you can see, a difference here is that I'm making it a get method. The two before do not have that. So what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to return some JSON data, some static data. This object passed through this function, JSONify, which we import like so, is going to make it so that our routes can turn into endpoints which return JSON data, extremely useful so that the client side can make that into a proper web page or whatever it's trying to do. This is the beginning of how APIs work. So when you make your own, this is the foundation to it. Check this out. If we run this, that's what we get. Pretty simple. So another app can now take this object that doesn't look very pretty and do whatever it wants with it. Now, of course, we can change this data around. To get the result right away. But we can also make it a bit more interesting, right? It doesn't have to be static data. We're going to use a third-party API called JSON placeholder. And it's very popular for using testing data. It gives you basically fake data to play with so that you can test your application, and when it's time to go, switch to real data. Okay, so in this scenario, we're going to return a fake user, user1, let's say. We're passing the ID 1, and we're going to get a response. Let's check out the getLiveData function. So once cloud data is hit, again with the get method, it's going to define the URL for the API. It's going to make a request, and now we have a new package to consider here, requests, which we can import this way. So if it returns a 200 code, then we know that we can display the data. But otherwise, we should show the error. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Responding with the data or with the error. Cool. So let's see what that looks like. Cloud data. A much larger object pinging the cloud. So you have to have Wi-Fi or some sort of data connection to get this. But we can see the beginning of how an API is really built. Data from a user gets transmitted to the client side, again in this ugly, raw JSON format. And the client side, with the HTML that we were used to working in the previous lesson, can turn this into a pretty app. So that's where we're going to leave it today. Next up, some fun things coming up. It's going to be your own data. Stick around.